the MAR and the ADL is actually something that you guys need to have in your guys' patient chart, also in your guys' daily charting, and something that you guys need to start at the admission process. So stick around so you guys can actually take some notes on the MAR and what's expected to be in the MAR, and also what's expected to be in the ADLs. What's up, everyone? I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Serge. Welcome to the channel. To all my reoccurring viewers, guys, what's up? I hope you guys are doing well, and thank you so much for all the support. And to my new viewers, guys, I've actually created a Facebook group called Legion Assisted Living Academy, and go ahead, request yourselves to this group, and there's awesome people in there already that are talking about, you know, their process, where they're at in their journey of starting an assisted living home. And there's also people in there who do have assisted living homes, and so they share their knowledge in their specific area. So go ahead and feel free to join the group, and make sure you guys request yourselves, and it's free, so you guys might as well. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of this video. My MAR is actually pretty simple and straightforward. At the top line, I have the resident's name, the physician's name, also the phone number for the physician, the diagnosis, date of birth, and the room or bed that they're in. And then on the second line, I have emergency contact, that phone number for that person, the pharmacy, also the pharmacy's number, and then if they're on hospice or they're on home health, I have the hospice that they're on, or the home health, you would put it there. Also, any allergies that the resident may have, you put up there. And then if they're DNR or CPR. So if they're DNR, you check under the DNR, and then you check under the CPR. And then you move on to whatever the medication orders, you know, what route they're going to be taking the medication, if it's PO, if they're allowed to crush it, if they're not, you know, these are just like just different. Best way to explain it is like, for instance, what does BID mean, right? It's twice daily, or TID. So these are for the caregivers, and they're just pretty much just different acronyms for different meanings. And so I have a whole list there that I just have for the caregivers, because not all the caregivers know it, but they should know it for the most part. And if they do, then that's great. That's a great caregiver. As I go down, this is when the MAR actually starts. I'll have the name of the medication, the dosage, any directions that is on the orders from the doctor, I will have written out directions, and then also the route that they'll be taking it, the specific pharmacy that will be sending the medication, and then the prescription number, and then you want to have the reason, and also any special instructions, whether it be crushed, whether it be taken with, you know, thicket or with liquids, or if it's supposed to be mixed with food, or if there's just a specific special instruction for that specific medication. You know, I write it right under special instructions. And then you'll have any description of the medication if needed, and then you have another place for the administration times. So you would have 4 slots usually, and then you have just the number of days for that month. And so, you know, if it's 31 days in that month, then you'll go all the way to 31. So I have quite a bit of, you know, for that specific medication, there's a couple, I would say up to 6 medications on one MAR, on one piece of paper for the MAR. And then at the bottom, I have the initial of the caregiver, and then also the full name in print for the caregiver. So when the caregiver gives the medication, they'll initial under that day on that specific time that they gave the medication. So you want to have everything kind of set and, you know, in order. So I start out with usually the morning meds first. I write them down first, and then I write the afternoon medications second. So it goes kind of in order. So you have the morning medications. If the same medication is given at night, like let's say it's BID twice daily, you know, I go ahead and make sure that I do that first. I'll do the medications that are morning and night if it's the same medication, and then I'll do, you know, actually I'll do the morning medications first, and then the morning and night medications second, and if there's just night medications, I do those third, and then I'll do the PRN medications at the very end, because PR medications, they're not scheduled, and PRN means as needed. And so if you're giving as needed, you know, you're not going to be constantly charting on those. You're only going to chart them when you give it. So therefore, I do the morning meds. To sum it up, pretty much I do the morning meds first, then the morning and afternoon. If it's the same medication for both morning and afternoon, I'll do that second. And then I'll do the night medications third, and then I'll do the PRN medications towards the end. And then on the backside of the MAR, I have pretty much just like for opioids or PRN medications, you're supposed to chart on the back of the MAR, the administration notes of that medication, and it's usually the dosage, the explanation why you gave it, also if it was effective or not, and then you date, time, and initial after you write your administration note on that. And that is the MAR, guys. That's pretty much how I set up my MARs. Moving on to the ADLs here, you kind of have the same concept and the same style of how you would do the MAR, right? You have the number of days across the top. On the left-hand side, you would have, shower, partial bath, hair washed, if you did linen changes, dressing, comb hair, shave, oral care for AM and PM, denture care for AM and PM, glasses, hearing aid, fingernail care, foot nail care, skin maintenance, and then night checks. That's the ADLs. And then you want to do food intake, right? You want to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You want to make sure you chart it anywhere from 0% to 100%. If they ate 100% of their meal, you'd write 100%. If they only ate half of it, you could kind of eyeball it sometimes. And then you want to offer hydration, right? Have you offered hydration? Yes. And then you want to offer snacks if they ambulate, if they socialize with others, and then scheduled activities for the AM and PM. And then you would have if they participated or refused. And so you would have that on the bottom half of the ADL. And then on the very bottom, you'd have if you assist with toileting or if you don't. And then you want to make sure you monitor the bowels, right? You want to make sure that if they have a bowel movement, what size was it? Was it small, medium, large, or diarrhea? You want to have at the bottom the caregiver's initial and the caregiver's name. And then at the very top, you just want to have the resident's name, the admission date that they came in, the month and year for the ADL, and then also the room number and bed number. And that is pretty much for the ADL. And then there's nothing on the back end side of the ADLs. And then the last thing is the service notes. You want to also start those at admission. You want to start these three things once the day of the admission. And the thing is with the MAR, you can't really start it until they move in. And you want to make sure that you get that medication review list signed off by the doctor showing, okay, they are taking these medications, because you want to go based off of that medication review list when you get it signed off by the doctor, because the doctor is saying, okay, yes, they are taking all these medications, you can go ahead and start them. And he's giving you permission, and now you know that, okay, these are the medications we have on hand. This is what we're sent from the hospital. You want to cross-reference all this stuff and make sure that everything is lined up and you have an order for each medication that you're giving. And if they do end up going on hospice, then hospice will also have in their chart all the medications that the resident will be on and what they're scheduled to take. So therefore you can go based off of that as well, and also have the hospice doctor sign off on the medication review list for that resident, and therefore you guys can go and start your MAR. The ADLs, you can start them as soon as the resident moves in and get them going. And you want to make sure that everything is kind of lined and makes sense and you can read it easily. And then when state comes, they're able to just look at the MAR and look at the ADLs and be able to make sense of it all. And I know from other homes that if your MARs and ADLs look really good and they can make sense of it, they can understand that there were no medication errors. And if there are medication errors, guys, write up an unusual occurrence report for that. But for the most part, I know that once they look at that and they see that you've been actually charting everything, you've been doing good with your MARs and your ADLs, you're gonna pass your inspection, and they're really not going to be so hard on you for the rest of the inspection. And usually when they're really hard on you on the inspections, it's because you weren't taking care of your residents properly, and even the charting. Paperwork is the most important thing when it comes to state inspections. It's probably way more important than the actual care of the residents, because they're not going to look at how well you're taking care of the resident except for that day, but throughout the year and stuff, they're not here watching you. So they're going to go based off of what's on paper, what's on documentation, how well you've been keeping up with the chart. Are you taking care of the service plans, or do they have their TBs in? Do they have their flu shots? Do they have all their MARs and ADLs completed? That's what they're going to look off of. So guys, make sure you guys are staying on top of all that. And if you guys are looking to start this is probably the most important part, and I hope you guys watched all the way through the end of this video and took a lot of good notes. And hopefully guys, these videos are helping you guys out, and if they are, go ahead, hit that like button. Also guys, don't forget to go join that group. It's called Legion Assisted Living Academy. I'll also link it down below, and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Go watch all these other videos as well. Remember guys, go watch that playlist. It is super important that you guys go watch that, because there's about 40 something videos in there, and you guys should go watch it and try to take as many notes as you guys can to help you guys stay on top of everything. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. God bless. Peace.